Okay, so I want to talk to my viewers about some stuff right now, and you're probably wondering what the screenshot in front of me is about. Well, I'll be honest with my viewers, which is that I swear to God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, and my soul, that the screenshot in front of me right now is a screenshot of a message which I sent to some girl from my school way back in 2019, and I have screenshots proof that the girl who I sent this message to actually replied to me, and I also have screenshots proof that she remained friends with me long after I sent her this message. In fact, screenshots have date on them, and I have screenshots proof that the girl who I sent this message to replied to me, and also that she remained friends with me long after I sent her this message. If you pause this video for a moment, then you can realize what kind of stuff I wrote to her in this message. I've covered up her name and also her profile picture, and also the names of our classes, and also name of one particular person who I talk about in this chat. I've done that to protect people's identities. But if some of my viewers are still not convinced that I sent this message to an actual girl, then just send me a message on Facebook. I will reveal my own identity sometime in this video. Just keep watching. Just send me a message on Facebook, and I will show my viewers who the girl from the screenshot really is, with her name and also her profile picture visible. And I will also show my viewers that the girl who I sent this message to actually replied to me, and also that she remained friends with me long after I sent her this message. And now I want to say a few things. First thing is which is that I went to Rochester High School, and I graduated way back in 2009. And this in this video I will prove some stuff to my viewers. So one thing I want to say is that please watch the full video and then make conclusions about things. So watch the full video and then make conclusions about things, and also please read all the comments, and also write down your own comments. I would really like that. And also please read the video description box, and also please watch the video in the highest quality that you can get it into. So anywhere from 144p to 1080p. And also, if my voice gets too high in any part of the video, then just turn the volume down. And another thing I want to say is that in this video I will try not to make mistakes while speaking, but at the same time it's near impossible to make a long video without making mistakes while speaking. So if I make any mistakes while speaking, then I'll point that out in the comments section. So that is another reason as to why you must read all the comments. And in this video I will prove some stuff to my viewers. Now I want to say one thing, which is that I have a feeling that after watching this video, many of my viewers, especially the people from my class, from my school, and especially the people from class of 2009, will be very intrigued. So I will say one thing, which is that if you went to school with me from January 2005 to sometime in May 2009, which for me was from second half of 8th grade to the end of 12th grade, then please ask the people from our school, especially the people from class of 2009, and especially the cool and popular people from class of 2009, and the people from class of 2009 in general, if they recall any girl either liking me and or showing interest in me from January 2005 to sometime in May 2009, which for me was from second half of 8th grade to the end of 12th grade. And ask those people if they recall any girl either liking me and or showing interest in me during that time period, and ask those people to swear to their God and their soul, so that way they're telling you the truth. So if they're like a Muslim, then ask them to swear to Allah. If they're like a Christian, then ask them to swear to Jesus. If they're like a Buddhist, then ask them to swear to Buddha, and so on. So you're wondering, what does girls liking me have anything to do with this? Well, it does a lot. In fact, just keep watching this video, and then you will realize what girls liking me have to do with this. In fact, in this video I will prove some stuff to my viewers, which is that many years ago, two incidents happened to me that are very crazy, fascinating, hard to believe, interesting, unique, weird, cool, amazing, all at the same time. These two incidents could be one of the most amazing and unique things of all time, although I am not fully sure about it. But my viewers can share their opinion on what they think about the incidents. You can share your opinion on what you think about the incidents, as well as the video itself, in the comment section. And I will prove to my viewers in this video that many years ago, two people in two different classes stared at me in two different ways, and after staring at me, both of them cried. And both of these incidents happened on way back on December 2nd, 2005. In fact, when it comes to the second incident from December 2nd, 2005, I still recall the second incident happening in very, very, very little parts. still. In fact, I'll tell my viewers what the second incident was like. So way back on December 2nd, 2005, I sat down in one of my classes, and in this class there was a particular girl who used to sit on opposite sides of the class facing me in a straight line. And on this particular day, this girl sat down, and at the beginning of the class, she suddenly began staring at me with intensity with her hands folded into fists against her face. And she stared at me like that from the opposite sides in a straight line. And she stared at me like that anywhere from 20 seconds to 30 seconds to 40 seconds to maybe a minute. So she stared at me anywhere from 20 seconds to maybe a minute, although most likely it was anywhere from 20 seconds to 30 seconds. And after staring at me like that, the girl got up and she went up to the teacher. And when it comes to the girl staring at me from the opposite sides, I remember that happening in very, very, very little parts still. But what happened later on, I remember better. I remember she went up to the teacher and asked the teacher for the bathroom. And before going to the bathroom, the girl, looked at me for a moment, and I noticed that she was very sad. And after that, the girl was gone the whole hour. I'm not sure how long she cried in the bathroom for. But maybe she just cried for 10 or 15 minutes and did her makeup or something the rest of the time. I'm not fully sure. But the girl was gone for the whole hour. And what happened? And something interesting happened later on, which I remember still. In fact, I swear to God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, and my soul, that after the second incident happened on December 2nd, 2005, me and the girl from the second incident from December 2nd, 2005 had class with each other once again. And in this class, the girl sat in one of the last seats of the last row, and I sat in one of the front seats of the second to last row. And at the beginning of the class, the girl said an interesting comment about me to one of her female friends. She was like this: God, he is seriously hot. Ugh. And I noticed, she said this comment about me, and after that, I turned back, and I noticed that the girl was checking me out, and she was using a book as a piece of cover to check me out. And I still recall, the book was I still recall what the book was called, and I noticed that the book was covering most of her face, but her eyes were still visible. And I will say one more thing, which is that which is that I am willing to take an oath to the Holy Spirit if allowed to. So if allowed to, then I'm willing to take an oath to the Holy Spirit about still recalling that after the second incident happened on December 2nd, 2005, me and the girl from the second incident from December 2nd, 2005 had class with each other once again. And at the beginning of this class, the girl said, God, he is seriously hot. Ugh, comment about me at the beginning of this class. And I will say one more thing, which is that I swear to God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, and my soul, that the girl, who I sent this particular message to, this girl and I used to like each other way back in ninth grade, and I still recall all this. And now I will say one thing, which is that way back in 2019, I messaged this girl, about the incidents, and then she actually replied to me. And I will say I'll be honest with my viewers, which is that she replied to me, and also that she remained friends with me long after I sent her all this message. In fact, screenshots have date on them, and I have proof of all of this. She replied to me, and also that I face no block, no deletion, no abuses, no threats. She did not mock me and say like, me cry after staring at you. You're right. And she did not call me crazy. She did not say like, are you high or are you drunk? Or she did not call me a delusional. She did not call me a liar or lunatic. She did not abuse me or anything. In fact, she replied to me, and also she remained friends with me long after I sent her this message. I have screenshots proof of all this. In fact, way back in 2019, I messaged this particular girl anywhere from 4 to 5 times, and she replied to me twice and remained friends with me long after I sent her this. I have screenshots proof of all of this. She replied to me, and this is what she said to me. She said, that's enough. Don't contact me. So she got a little angry, but she did not say or do anything to extreme to me. She did not block me. She did not delete me. She did not call me a liar or lunatic. She did not say like, are you crazy or are you high or are you on drugs or what the heck you're talking about. She did not abuse me. She did not mock me and say like, me cry after staring at you. Yeah, right. She did not say like, what the heck you're talking about. She did not call me a liar, a delusional. She did not call me a liar, a delusional, or a lunatic or anything like that. Anyway, in fact, she remained friends with me long after I sent her this message, and I sent her 4 to 5 messages 2019, sorry, 2019, and she replied to me twice. And so when I messaged her in 2019, she either remembered liking me, or she remembered the incident, or possibly she remembered both things. I mean, what are the chances of sending some girl a message like this and her not saying or doing anything to stream to you if she does not recall anything? Because this girl who I sent this message to, she was a very attractive and popular girl at my school, and she was not my friend either. So why would she tolerate such a message from a guy who never meant anything to her? When I messaged her, she either remembered liking me or the incident, or both things. And this girl, she was a nice person, but she did have decent amount of attitude. And I recall that in all of high school, we had only one face to face conversation with each other where we said a few lines to each other. And I also remember that in ninth grade, she did say a few things to me in the hallways, but I never said anything to her in return. And she was a very attractive and popular girl at my school too. And now I will say one more thing, which is that that way back in 2020, last year, I was talking to one of my female co-workers from my work, who I've known for almost 12 years now. In fact, I started working way back in 2009, June 2009, and I've been at the same place for almost 12 years now. And last year in 2020, I was talking to a particular female co-worker who is also more of a friend to me than the girl from the screenshots ever was. And I was telling this female coworker my life story, both the good part and the bad part, and she did not like it. She got offended by it. As a result, she ended up blocking me. And this female coworker is more of a friend to me than the girl from the screenshots ever was. Yet she blocked me for something so little. Yet the girl from the screenshots, who I have not seen in person since 2009, and who was never a friend to me, did not say or do anything to stream to me. So you have to wonder why the girl from the screenshots would not say or do anything to stream to me despite this message. And I messaged her a total of 4 to 5 times in 2019. Now I will show more proof that I really did message her and stuff. This next screenshot is from one of my friends. This particular friend of mine saw how the girl reacted to the screenshots between of the saw the screen. This particular friend of mine saw the screenshots of the conversation between me and that girl. Screenshots of the particular conversation between me and that girl. And they saw how she reacted to my messages. This person saw how she replied to my messages, and also that she remained friends with me long after all this. And this friend was like, "Damn this," and then said the girl's name. I've covered up this friend's name and profile picture because they swore to God that they will not share or talk about the screenshots with anyone else. So this way, I'm protecting my friend's oath and identity, but at the same time, I'm also showing more proof that I really did message the girl, and also that she really did reply to me, and also that she remained friends with me long after this. And another person saw that she really did reply to me, and then also that she remained friends with me long after all this. So I'm protecting people's oath and identity. I'm protecting my friend's oath and identity, but I'm also showing proof of stuff. Now I'll show another screenshot similar to this. This next screenshot is another screenshot, from another friend, and this particular friend also saw the screenshots of the particular conversations between me and that girl. And this friend also saw how she replied to me, and also the how she remained friends with me long after this. And this friend was, I told this person, prove that we still friends after this. Laugh out loud. By the way, I've completely zoomed in on this friend's name and profile picture to protect their identity, because this friend also swore to God that they will not share or talk about the screenshots with anyone else. So this way, I'm protecting people's oath and identity, but I'm also showing proof that I really did message the girl, and she really did reply to me, and she really did remain friends with me, and a few people saw a proof of all of this. And this person said, that takes her back. You probably figured out what they said. And I told her that she either I told this person, this friend, that she either remembers liking me, or the incident, or both things. I mean, what are the chances of sending some girl a message like this and her not saying or doing anything too extreme to you if she does not recall anything? Now I'll tell my viewers a few more things, which is that when it comes to December 2nd, 2005, I still remember quite a lot of things from that day still, which is that I remember that day in the early morning. I went in the bathroom and I took a shower, and after I came out of the shower, I noticed that my hair looked very shiny that day. As did the rest of my face, and I still recall what clothes I wore that day. In fact, on December 2nd, 2005, I wore a full sleeves red Old Navy shirt that day that said Old Navy in mostly blue and some white shades, and I also wore a dark navy blue pants that day. And I also recall what the weather was like that day. In fact, in the early morning that day, it was snowing. As I was going to school on my way on my way to school on the bus, I noticed that the early morning that day was snowing. In fact, that day's weather was crazy and fascinating as the day itself. Sorry for stuttering. I'm sorry about that. And now I will say one thing, which is that I remember that day in first hour, I had a slideshow presentation to do, and the teacher from this class was a female teacher, and she was staring at me to evaluate my performance. When I was doing my slideshow presentation, she was staring at me to evaluate my performance, but she was also staring at me in a way as if something interesting was going on with me that day. By the way, I swear to God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, and my soul, that the teacher from the first hour is not the same person as the teacher from the first incident from December 2nd, 2005, which I will talk about later, sometime later on in this video. In fact, the teacher from the first incident is someone else. I swear to God. Anyway, I remember that a few hours after the first hour, the first incident happened. And when it comes to the teacher from the first incident, I still recall what clothes that she wore that day. I think the teacher from the first incident, possibly wore something black that day, I think. And you know and the a few hours after the first incident, the second incident happened. So the second incident happened a few hours after the first incident. And when it comes to the second incident, I recall that what happened before the second incident happened. In fact, I was walking in the hallways on my way, to the class where the second incident would happen eventually, and I was walking on the right side on my way to the class, and the teacher from the class where the second incident happened was walking on the left side, and I was walking on the right side. And I think the teacher from the class where the second incident happened, this teacher was possibly getting a drink of water or something like that. And when they saw me, they suddenly stopped walking and stomped one of their foot out in my direction and then walked away. This was pretty weird, I think. And sometime later on, the class began, and the second incident happened instantly. And I still recall what clothes the girl from the second incident wore that day. In fact, she wore something orange that day with the blue top and blue jeans. And I also remember that in the afternoon time, it rained that day. And when it comes to nighttime, I remember that nighttime that day, I watched a Pistons versus a Knicks game on the TV, and the game was at the Palace, and it was Larry Brown's first game back to the Palace after he had left Detroit, and I think Richard Hamilton scored something like 40 points that day, and the Pistons won that game. And I think at the nighttime it snowed that day, so that day's weather was crazy and fascinating as the day itself. Now, when it comes to the first incident, from December 2nd, 2005, I remember that still, but in very vaguely. I still recall the first incident, but in very small and like very vaguely amounts. I barely remember it, but I'll try my best to tell my viewers what the first incident was like. So on December 2nd, 2005, a few hours, you know, a few hours before the second incident happened, the first incident happened. And I remember that on the when it comes to the first incident, on that day, I sat next to a female teacher in one of my classes. I sat on the left side, and she sat on the right side, and the right side of her face faced against the left side of my face. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. Okay, so the right side of her face faced against the left side of my face. And I was sitting on the left side, and she was sitting on the right side, and the right side of her face faced against the left side of my face. And I suddenly turned around, and I noticed that she was staring at me. The right side of her face was staring against the left side of my face, and she was staring at me with intensity, and both of her elbows were resting on the table, and her right hand was on the right side of her face, staring against the left side of my face. And she stared at me anywhere from 1 to 2 minutes. And after that, the teacher got sad, and then I asked her if I can go to the bathroom, and she said, "Go, just go." Just go, God to me, while in tears. But I do remember, I remember that in 10th grade, something interesting happened once between me and the teacher from the first incident, once again, which I remember better. In fact, I swear to God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, and my soul, that I remember that once, way back in 10th grade, sophomore year, I was once in one of my classes, and the teacher from the first incident once walked into this class, and the teacher from this class, who was also a female teacher, went up to the teacher from the first incident and asked her, "Do you know who he is?" The teacher from this class said my name instead of he, and the teacher from the first incident replied, "Oh, yes, I know him well. I know him very well indeed." And I also have an amazing memory, and I will prove that to my viewers. In fact, my memory is so good that I can still recall 10 to 20 people from some of my classes still, which is amazing because school ended for me way back in 2009. This particular screenshot will prove how good my memory is. By the way, I swear to God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, and my soul, that the girl from this screenshot is not the same person as the girl from the second incident from December 2nd, 2005. In fact, the girl from the second incident from December 2nd, 2005 incident is someone else. I swear to God. Anyway, way back in 2019, December 2019, I was talking to a female, to a girl who I was talking to with some girl who went to school with me, and and this girl had a few classes with me in high school, and one of the classes was a Spanish class. The Spanish class was in ninth grade first semester, and it ended in early January 2006. And I still recall quite a lot of people from this class, and this girl was surprised, and she was like, "Oh my God, how do you remember that?" I remember there were two Laurens in that class. There was also an Alexa. There was also a Kustrom. There was also a Christine. There was also a Sarah. There was also a guy whose first name started with the letter J A. But I covered out the rest of the letters of his first name to hide his identity because me and this person did not get along. Sometime it was my fault. I was immature with them, so I'm not sure how they would feel about me talking about them. There was also a Chris in that class. There was also a Tyler. There was also a Princess. There was also a Princess. There was also a Derek. There was also a Jenny. There was also a Talia. There was also some black girl Jasmine in that class. There was also a Katie, some girl named Katie in that class was there possibly too. There was also a Carrie Ann in that class. There was also a girl named Aaron in that class who sadly passed away like 9 years ago. There was also a guy named Nick in that class. There was also possibly a girl named Kristen. A girl named Kristen was also possibly in that class, and a guy named Floyd was also in that class, and I was also in that class. Now I will reveal my viewers who I am. My identity will be revealed in the next screenshot. But before I do so, I will say one thing, which is that way back in 2019, I also messaged the teacher from the first incident, and she replied to me in a rather interesting way. The teacher replied to me in a rather interesting way. Just keep watching, and I'll show how the teacher from the first incident replied to me. Anyway, this is who I am. My name is Anurag Sinha, and I went to Rochester High School, and I graduated way back in 2009. And I did give people subtle hints and clues about December 2nd, 2005 incidents before. Like way back on December 2nd, 2008 at 7:25 a.m. I wrote "It's 3 years dot" on my Facebook wall. And I also remember that once way back in 10th grade sophomore year, I was talking to some person on AIM chat, and I told this particular person that some interesting stuff happened to me on December 2nd, 2005. Some interesting stuff happened to me on December 2nd, 2005 without saying things in detail. So I did give people subtle hints and clues about stuff about the incidents without saying things in details. Now I will say one thing, which is that I swear to God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, and my soul, that I still recall, that from January 2005 to sometime in June 2006, which for me was from second half of 8th grade to the end of ninth grade. Decent amount of people, either thought that I was a nice looking guy and or that I had something interesting going about me during this time period. And you can ask people about this too if you're curious. So ask people, people like my friends and people from my school, and also my family and relatives, and ask those people who have known me since at least early 2005. Ask those people if they recall me either being a nice looking guy and or having something interesting going about me from January 2005 to sometime in June 2006, which for me was from second half of 8th grade to the end of ninth grade. End of ninth grade. And ask those people to swear to their God and their soul, so that way they're telling you the truth. So if they're like a Muslim, then ask them to swear to Allah. If they're like a Christian, then ask them to swear to Jesus. If they're like a Buddhist, then ask them to swear to Buddha, and so on. And even from 10th grade to 12th grade, rare people did see me in that kind of way, although it was very rare compared to what it was like from January 2005 to sometime in June 2006. But even from 10th grade to 12th grade, some people did see me in that kind of way. And you can ask people about that too. You can also ask some people, people that if they recall, about the 10th grade to 12th grade to also. But mostly it was from January 2005 to June 2000, sometime in June 2006, when people thought about me like this. And and I will say one more thing, which is that which is that I swear to God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, and my soul, that I still recall decent amount of girls either liking me and or showing interest in me from January 2005 to sometime in June 2006, which for me was from second half of 8th grade to the end of ninth grade. And you can ask people about this too. Ask people, especially from my school, ask them if they recall any girl either liking me and or showing interest in me from January 2005 to sometime in June 2006, which for me was from second half of 8th grade to the end of ninth grade. And ask those people to swear to their God and their soul, so that way they're telling you the truth. So if they're like a Muslim, then ask them to swear to Allah. If they're like a Christian, then ask them to swear to Jesus. If they're like a Buddhist, then ask them to swear to Buddha, and so on. And now I will also say that even from 10th grade to 12th grade, some girls either liked me and or showed interest in me. So in fact, the whole time period when this kind of stuff was happening to me was from January 2005 to sometime in May 2009, which for me was from second half of 8th grade to the to the end of 12th grade. And ask people, especially from my school, if they recall any girl either liking me and or showing interest in me from during this time period, January 2005 to sometime in May 2009, which for me was from second half of 8th grade to the end of 12th grade. And ask those people to swear to their God and their soul, so that way they're telling you the truth. So so if they're a Muslim, then ask them to swear to Allah. If they're a Christian, then ask them to swear to Jesus. If they're like a Buddhist, then ask them to swear to Buddha, and so on. And when it comes to the girls liking me, it was most and or showing interest in me, it was mostly from January 2005 to sometime in June 2006, which for me was from second half of 8th grade to the end of ninth grade. But even from 10th grade to 12th grade, some girls did show interest in me. And I'm also going to make another video which will be related to this, and which will be related to this kind of stuff. And that video will be called actually, that video already exists. That video already exists, and it's called Proving Good Things About Me from '05 to '09. If you surf and if you look through my channel and surf through it, you will find that video. Just watch that video, and then you will realize things more. And now I'll show my viewers how the teacher reacted to me. Way back in 2019, I messaged a particular teacher, about the incident. I told her, that I had her as a student during the 2005, 2000, 2006 sort of time period. I told her that I was a South Asian student whose name started with the letter A, and on one particular day, this incident happened between us. And I also told her that this incident happened to me twice that day. And I also told her that once, way back in 10th grade sophomore year, I once saw her in one of my classes, and the teacher from this class went up to her and asked her, "Do you know who Anurag is?" And this teacher replied, "Oh yes, I know him well. I know him very well indeed." I told this teacher, that this stuff really messes with my head, and I just want to know the truth. Please tell me the truth. And by the way, this email is to an actual teacher. It says Rochester dot k12.mi.us, and only real teachers can use that in the email. The teacher replied to me, and she said this to me. She replied to me in a rather interesting way. She's like, "Please forgive me, but I do not recall this. But that may be because I have had children and thousands of students since then. If you can send me a school picture and name, I may be able to put this into more context." So the teacher did not admit anything either, but neither the girl nor the teacher said or did anything too extreme to me, which was very surprising, especially from the girl, because the girl who I sent this message to, she was a very attractive and popular girl at my school, and I've not seen her in person since 2009, and she did not say do anything too extreme to me. By the way, if I'll say one more thing, which is that I have a feeling that the girl and the teacher, who I messaged about the incidents in 2019, I think they might still recall me messaging them about the incidents. If they may not remember the incident as of now, as of 2021, they may not remember the incidents, but they may remember, me messaging them in 2019. And if either the girl or the teacher ever come across this video, then I will say one. And if you're curious about this, then I will say one thing, which is that please go to a very good psychic, and test them, and and ask them if they can figure out, if this incident truly happened to you guys, and ask them And by the way, test the psychic, and to make sure how good they are at finding stuff out, and you can talk to the psychic in person, or you can possibly talk to them on the phone, or through a video chat. Now I will say one thing, which is that if some of my viewers are still not convinced about things, then I will say one thing, which is that I swear to God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, and my soul, that I still remember that after the second incident happened on December 2nd, 2005, me and the girl from the second incident from December 2nd, 2005 had class with each other once again. And at the beginning of this class, the girl said, God, he is seriously hot. Comment about me to one of her female friends. I also swear to God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, and my soul, that I remember that once this one time, way back in 10th grade, sophomore year, I was once in one of my classes, and the teacher from the first incident once walked into this class. And the teacher from this class, who was also a female, went up to the teacher from the first incident and asked her, Do you know who Anurag is? And the teacher from the first incident replied, Oh, yes, I know him well. I know him very well indeed. And I will also say one more thing, which is that I swear to God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, and my soul, that I still recall a decent amount of girls either liking me and or showing interest in me during a certain time period during school days. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a phone call again. It's really irritating. Now I will say one more thing, which is, as far as my religious beliefs are concerned, I am not a Christian. My beliefs are something else, but I do know that in Christianity, the Holy Spirit is very sacred. So I will say one thing, which is that if some of my viewers are still not convinced after seeing all this, then I will say one thing, which is that I am willing to take an oath to the Holy Spirit if allowed to, so if allowed to, then only then I am willing to take an oath to the Holy Spirit if allowed to, about still recalling that after the second incident happened on December 2nd, 2005, me and the girl from the second incident from December 2nd, 2005 had class with each other once again. And at the beginning of the class, the girl said, God, he is seriously hot. Comment about me. And I am also willing to take an oath to the Holy Spirit if allowed to, about still recalling that once way back in 10th grade sophomore year, I was once in one of my classes, and then the teacher from the first incident once walked into this class. And the teacher from this class went up to the teacher from the first incident and asked her, Do you know who Anurag is? And the teacher from the first incident replied, Oh, yes, I know him well. I know him very well indeed. By the way, I'm willing to take such kind of oaths to the Holy Spirit only if allowed to, because the Holy Spirit is very sacred and you can never offend it. So I'm not even sure if you're allowed to take such kinds of oaths. And I will also say one more thing, which is that I'm also willing to take an oath to the Holy Spirit if allowed to, about still recalling decent amount of girls either liking me and or showing interest in me during a certain time period during school days. This was my video for now. If I made any mistakes, then I will point that out in the comment section. Bye now.